Morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Zack Leader.
And I'm Kirsty Dixon, Women and Girls Football Development Officer at Lincolnshire FA.
This is We Are the One, Lincolnshire FA's grassroots football podcast. This week we've been talking to the head of girls football at Greenbank FC, the committee member for the QuickLine Lincolnshire Women and Girls League, and Lincolnshire FA's official Equal Game Ambassador, Carole Simpson. We've been talking about Carole's inspirations, why she does as much as she does, and how she sees the future of the women and girls game growing in our area. So we're here with Carole Simpson, who is a committee member at the QuickLine Lincolnshire Women and Girls League, head of girls football at Greenbank Football Club, and Lincolnshire FA's Equal Game Ambassador. Carole, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. So let's start off from the beginning. Really, what's your story? How did you get into football?
Very randomly, not something I ever anticipated. Big sofa football fan of Liverpool, and my son started playing. No one wanted to be the manager, the typical story. So I thought I'll give it a go. It was a lot more than I ever anticipated in a voluntary role, but actually when I started doing it, playmaker, doing the introduction to football course, it kind of triggered a passion, and then it's now an obsession, I would say. So yeah, my son is the reason why I'm in football.
Fantastic. And what do you enjoy about being an active volunteer? As we've sort of touched on already, you do so much already. What is it that you actually enjoy about it? What impact does that have on you?
I think being an inspiration, I'll always refer it back to my kids, but being an inspiration to them, showing them, particularly now my focus is in the female game. I feel like I've came in at the right time when we're really beginning to make a change. And I think being a massive inspiration, not just to my daughter, but my son as well, to show, he's an ally to the female game, and in the future he could make an impact. And yeah, so my kids are a big driving force, but then the reward, seeing the girls out playing football, particularly at the weekend when we've just had an under-10s football festival with the girls, and just seeing how happy they are, and that's a big driving force as well, because just watching that grow year by year is just a phenomenal thing to see from where the game was when I was a child. So the focus is definitely the kids and everyone else's.
Yeah. And you've sort of touched on where the game was when you were a child. What did the game look like when you were a child?
Non-existent is how I see it. And to be honest, being in the boys' game with my son, I never actually acknowledged the female game as such, because it's always been men's football that I've followed. So to come in now and grow the Greenbank girls has been above all expectation, but the demand is definitely there. And working with the league as well, the demand already in a year is incredible. So now that's overtaken anything I ever saw in the boys' game.
And you touched on that to see the provision at Greenbank Girls grow. So where did that start from to where it is now? How has that grown, and how have you done that?
So we didn't have a girls section, and the gent who I work with, Tim at Greenbank Girls, he wanted to start something up, give it a try. We had 6 girls at our first session in October 2022, and 14 months later, at 120 girls. We've gone from 2 teams last season in the league to now potentially 8 in the league this coming season. It's beyond all of our expectations. Social media is a big part of my role at the league, and I do everything at Greenbank Girls as well. And I've really enjoyed learning the marketing, the right way to attract girls into the game, and now obviously on a wider scale can help other clubs do that too. So it's just been, the whole thing has been a new dream for me. I kind of feel like I've got to 36 and I'm living a dream that I never anticipated, that I really enjoy. So yeah, it's been incredible.
And you mentioned before that you want to sort of be an inspiration to your kids. Who is your inspiration? Because I think it's quite important that we find out, who's been that person that you've looked up to, not just sort of more recently or throughout your life, to aspire to be the amazing person that you are today.
That's a really good question. Probably not one I've particularly thought about. I would say probably my mum, because she's came through a lot of adversity. She had a stroke when she was probably just around my age actually, and became disabled, and her like drive and finding a career path and different things for herself. So seeing the hard work no matter what. So I'd say my mum probably is a big impact on my life, and I think that's where I get it from, wanting to be an impact on my children as well. More recently, Kenners, our community champion, has been just someone I've really aspired to work like. But I think when you're a coach or you look into football development, you should take a bit of everyone. So Samantha Griffiths as well, someone I look up to, and Steph Powell as well. So I've always tried to keep close to them as such, because I think everything the information they give me, I could really carry. So those three more recently.
Fantastic. I should also mention we are here with Lincolnshire FA's Women and Girls Football Development Officer Kirsty Dixon tonight, who is co-hosting with me. So I'll say hello to Kirsty as well. Kirsty?
Yeah, so around your sort of committee member role within the QuickLine Lincolnshire Women and Girls League, how has that experience been so far? Because we're aware, obviously, the committee is quite newly formed. How are you finding that experience so far?
I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's given me a lot of experience across everything. So understanding particularly about referee development, that's not something I've ever looked at, but working closely with younger referees and how they get the promotion, and just taking an interest in little snippets of the game that I've not had before has been a big learning curve. And I think just people management, we were kind of all thrown together as a committee. We live in different parts of the county. We've only met on 2 occasions, I believe. So trying to manage personalities and stuff through messaging or a screen is something I think we've all enjoyed now, because we've got a really strong bond. And that's made me think more people management in the club and other areas of football. So I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away, is personal development has been huge as being part of the committee. And we've all loved it. We've all loved seeing the girls out playing football. That's been such a pleasure. And even the days when it's just, a bit of a slog and we're trying to get things together to make everyone happy, and you're never going to make everyone happy, that end bit makes everything worthwhile. So we're really enjoying it at the moment, and we're really, really excited for next season, because we've got some really good things coming.
So talking about the future of the league, what do you see the future of the league looking like? Where's it going next?
Instantly when you say that, I see more girls lifting trophies is literally the first thing that comes in my head. I think recently the festivals have been such a massive success. So we've really, especially at the development football, put them as a big focus, and we're going to have more of those next season. We've had consultation events recently, which we're really grateful for everyone joining. Took a lot of views that we probably didn't think of ourselves. So again, that people management and working with other clubs, and seeing that grow, people reaching out now wanting to join. We've obviously done a really great job last season. So I think I don't have a massive knowledge of open age football, but to sit on that call has given me that knowledge, and now I'm looking a bit more at that for next season to kind of see the women's game grow as well, because we need that to grow for the younger generation to look up to. So yeah, we've got some really good things coming. A lot more competitive football that we wouldn't have fit in this year just because we didn't have the time because we were so late. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited.
Do you think that consultation piece of work is really important? Because you may say differently, but it should always be driven by the people who are actively participating in the league and actively engaging within the league. Do you think getting their opinion and what they want the league and the offering to look like is important?
I think we always knew it was crucial, but actually then when we did the calls, some of the new ideas came in we hadn't thought of, and then we were like, oh, okay, these people, like you say, on the ground do know better. And yeah, I think there's some ideas now that we're going to put back from those calls. But I think the approachability is so important. We need to be approachable and have our face to everything so that we, nothing can go wrong as such in the future.
Yeah. As someone who is a committee member of the league, what are the challenges that you as a league face?
Communication sometimes, I think, with things being passed down to teams. So we've actually been discussing today actually a new way. How do we get emails that might be missed from a secretary point of view, which, we're all volunteers. Some things don't go out. One club could be really on it and then another isn't because they have to fit it in their own time, which we are grateful for. So we're trying to think of new ways that we could reach each individual manager with a new campaign that we've got coming out this week. So we're always trying to work on that. I think that's definitely the biggest problem we found this year. So we've decided that has to be our main focus next year.
Yeah, 100%. And you're actually still relatively new into sort of being, an active volunteer within football. And it seems you've sort of gone from nothing to absolutely everything in a really short.
Like that, yeah.
I mean, why is it that you do as much as you do? Because you do an incredible amount. What's your drive?
I think, like I said, going back to the kids, but I think I've got that end goal now with development in football is something I've become passionate about. I think I've decided, in a way, no offence, Greenbank, I'd like to move a little bit away from the coaching and look at the development all round of like the girls' game. So that's the focus all the time in the front of my mind. Like today, for example, helping coaches from university get into a volunteer role, and I've had a couple of emails around that. I've had a player approach me on my personal social media because she's seen I work for the league. She wants to get into recreational women's football. She just happened to come across my page, so I've sent that out. That kind of getting people out on the pitch in any possible way is my biggest drive, because just seeing everyone happy out there is, why wouldn't you want that for people?
Yeah.
I think that links in really nicely to, obviously we've discussed around the competition element of your role, but linking into sort of the recreational and participation part of your role. You've recently started a squad session at Greenbank and also have a Wildcat session. So can you tell me a little bit about the importance of recreational football?
I work quite closely with the really younger girls, seem to really like me, so connecting with them. And just, I think from a parent's point of view, they seem to like the like 5-year-olds, they're not so keen on being in a game. They're still a bit afraid of the ball. So it's just those little skills that they don't know they're doing. So like when we play Hungry Hippos and they're dribbling out of cones and they're getting the ball, they have a competitive element because they have to go back to the base and whichever team's got the most footballs wins. Just keeping it calm and steady, but showing them skills without them being afraid of football. Because I do think, especially in the girls' game, they get off put by that. Like especially if we're going in goal or whatever, they don't like it. And then from a squad girls' point of view, there has been girls from other clubs who came into the recreational session just because they have nowhere else to just go and kick a ball, or if a park's full of boys playing football, they feel like they can't go and join in with the boys. Find that quite a lot when we've had conversations. So I think that's been quite a safe space for them to just kick a ball, non-competitive. We add loads of fun games into it, either side of like a proper game, if you like, and they seem to absolutely love that. So it just keeps people happy and engaged in the game in a different way.
Yeah. And we've obviously spoken about what the future of the Lincolnshire Women and Girls League looks like, but what do you think the overall sort of landscape of women and girls football in Lincolnshire looks like moving it, for 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
I was talking about this today as well, what we envisage it to look like. And for me, it was more an overall of football, not just in the county. I think it's going to match in the grassroots, the boys level, if you like. I hate calling it boys because it's mixed, because a lot of girls do play with the boys now. I'd like to see Greenbank girls in particular, that's the only thing I can mirror it with, match a Saturday, have the pitches as full as we do on a Sunday. That would be phenomenal, but also the facility aspect has to be taken into that as well. So it's finding ways around that. County-wide the same. I'd love the women's to match that, and I think it will. And then on like a national scale, Saturdays to be as full on screen as the men's game with women's football. And just to see more women out on the pitch as well. for me, my dream would every club who is starting a female provision, or even if they don't, to say, okay, we're having 3 boys teams next year, but those 3 have to have a female assistant or a female do the money or something, so there's a female to look up to for them boys, because I do think it's important in the boys' game as much as the girls.
And why do you think having that female representation within the women's game, so whether it be female coaches or female committees, whatever that might look like, why do you think that representation for women across the board is important?
Like I said, with the younger girls, I feel like they come to me more than they would a male. And the older girls in squad, they seem to relate to me a bit more. They seem to chat to me more about problems, lots of boy problems at school apparently. So that little bit of friendship and interaction, they probably wouldn't go and speak to the male coach, especially older. They're not going to go and talk about, things that men wouldn't speak about, periods, etc. When they struggle with that, they do seem to come and talk to me about that. So I think it's really crucial that we have it.
Do you think that that representation is sort of that is the key as to why the success of the Lionesses, for example, is as important as it is? Because not only have a grassroots level in terms of having a female coach to look up to, or female coach to be able to relate to or talk to, in terms of having from an elite perspective, being able to then watch the WSL, being able to see the England Lionesses succeeding on the pitch. Do you think that's why that is so important?
Yeah, and I think actually as a committee we've got it right, because we've only got 1 male on the whole committee for the Girls' League, and that's been mentioned a few times on our consultation events, that there's been, all of us are female, and Ed's, I think he was on 1 consultation. So I think that for me really stood out when I applied for the committee, that we were all female, because I think that just shows it's female representing that sport. And yeah, like you say, the Lionesses, all the kids look up to them. So they need to not just look up to me, but other people at the club as well, because that's kind of, when you're a kid, I'm as close to that, aren't I? Because they don't know any different.
So linking into, you spoke around like personal development. Why do you find personal development so prominent in your sort of position that you're in at the moment? I know you do quite a lot of CPD hours and things outside of your roles. So why is that something that you take is so important for you? It's
been important outside of football for me. And I have like a little saying where I think, if I come into a room and I'm the most knowledgeable and the most ambitious, I'm in the wrong room. I need to be in the next room. Because if I'm not learning and trying to catch someone else's ambition, then I'm just going to stay stagnant, and I don't want to do that. So I've always been driven in every aspect, in every job that I've had. And again, my kids are now really, really ambitious because they've seen me be it too. So yeah, it's key in every part of my life. Structure of my days and everything is quite ruthless. But this is what happens. Success grows success. So I try and have little mindset things, gratitude, affirmation every day to really push myself to stay focused.
Absolutely love that. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, you mentioned that you've had that and carried that across in terms of all the jobs that you've had as well. You've already touched on another role that you've got is being a social media officer as well, which is is obviously your professional aspect as well, working in obviously media marketing. What is it about that you enjoy, and how have you been able to integrate those professional skills that you've got and use them to sort of benefit women and girls in local football?
So in my non-volunteer role, if you like, I also work with women to help them have flexibility in finance to make stability around their children. So I'm inspiring women in that respect and helping them, and then being in the girls' game kind of links together. So it was quite natural actually growing it in the female game, because I feel like I have the audience. So a lot of people that I'm already working with have sent their kids to like football sessions of mine, or the girls have then joined the league. There was elements of branding and stuff. The brand for my job is me. So that was something I had to learn, like different colours and stuff. And it was very much trial and error. So don't scroll back through Greenbank or the league social media because it doesn't look great at the bottom. But again, it's evolving now to the point where the branding can be taken away a little bit because we've built through the season really lovely pictures of the girls, and they're the best marketing tool. And I always say this when I lead conversations or run workshops in my paid job, the biggest marketing tool, even in football, is yourself. Always. If your face isn't something, the approachability is not there, you won't get anywhere. You have to be approachable. Always be kind even when people aren't looking or they don't know what you're doing. Always have your face to things. Always talk to people. Otherwise, if people turned up to a football pitch, I've been talking nicely on Greenbank's social media to remind them that sessions are coming up, and then I'm not like I am on the social media. They're not going to stay at the club. So yes, there's lots of things around marketing, but you are the biggest marketing tool, always.
And you do, I can see specifically from my role especially, that you do such a fantastic job of doing the social media and the marketing for the Women and Girls League and for Greenbank Girls. Why do you feel like the role of social media or media people within football, and especially grassroots football, is so important?
We were just talking about this before you came in the room. It's exploded, especially with you coming into Links FA. Branding now on the website and everything is amazing. People recognise straight away, oh, that must be Links FA because it's in this colour. And it's just that, again, when people are looking on different sites, especially for a female provision for their daughter, for example, they're going to remember the page that had the most engagement, the most compliments in the comments, the most active, because it shows the care and what you actually do on the pitch. The same with your CPDs. There's a lot of CPDs at the minute. It's keeping people engaged, not just in the FA league, the club, but they can see what's going on as well and the growth that's going to have. And again, it brings it back to personal development as well. So you have to use it in the right way. I know lots of people say negative things about social media, but actually, especially Links FA at the minute, I think without social media, there's no way we would have been as innovative, especially with the transphobia campaign and things like that at the minute. I think it's really, really propelled Links FA to stand above a lot of other county FAs.
So, as you've mentioned, social media is such a huge part of your role with everything that you do. Do you have any top tips for somebody that's potentially starting out within the role within a club capacity or within a league? Have you got any little tips for them?
The biggest one is give before you get. You have to comment on everything so that your page becomes present. Stories, massive, because I always say Instagram, that to relate this to, that is your shop window, but your story is where people take things off the shelf. So your grid doesn't always show, but everyone can see that circle at the top when it's on a story. And always talk on your stories. So my face is to Greenbank, is to the league, because I'm part of that and I have to be proud of that. And if people can see you be proud of what you do, then they become that as well. So give, keep your stories active, links on all your stories for everything. Like example is your CPD events, you can just click. People don't want to read a caption, click, and then fill out a form. They just want it there and then, really accessible. So for me, stories are key and they really increase your engagement as well. And always reply, even if it's just a love heart or something. Your engagement is important as everyone else's engagement. That's my 3.
Amazing, thank you.
I can completely agree that they are some of the best top tips I have probably heard in a long time. Fantastic. You've recently been appointed as Lincolnshire FA's Equal Game Ambassador. Just sort of touch on what that role includes and what that looks like.
So Kirsty and I will work with clubs to either begin a female provision if they haven't got one, them tips around marketing, workforce, which I think is a very important one. I had a conversation with a club the other day and we don't know if we've got enough workforce, and I think that is a panic around volunteering. It is a general thing, so helping with that, getting their first sessions up and running, and then just the sustainability. How do we sustain that once it is set up? Kirsty and I work together on that, so I'm really excited because the whole of the girls' games become a passion. Neither of my kids play in the girls' game, so it's a dream come true role for me, because like I say, it's in that development.
Yeah, it's something we're really looking forward to doing. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you will be working alongside some of the other roles within the game? So like you've touched on the community champion, how will you and the community champions work together within this role?
So I think me and Kenners have a nice relationship anyway, so I feel like that's going to be eased. So for example, I've been through the process of setting up a Wildcats myself, so passing that knowledge on. Kenners has been out to our sessions to help us, because the girls' game's so different to the boys. Like Tim and I were a bit, we don't know what to do in this first session, but her breaking it down and giving like little key ideas, and language for girls is so different, which we didn't realise. So she's really good at the sessions and language and helping with that, whereas I'm good in the background, like I say, with the marketing and other bits. So I think that'll link in really well, and then the sustainability would come through you. So I think we've worked it out quite well so far, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it in action.
And we really do need to touch on recently that the QuickLine Lincolnshire Women and Girls League and Lincolnshire FA hosted an International Women's Day event, which there was some incredibly powerful sort of conversations and things that were happening, in the different workshops and the panel. What did you take from that event?
I think there was one girl that spoke, Scarlett Sky. She was speaking about including herself back in the game. She'd taken a break from the game because she has autism and ADHD, and it was so powerful. I felt really teary listening to it, and it just showed the inclusivity of football for me, and it really stood out. She was phenomenal when she spoke, and it just reiterated to me that this is a game for all, and it just made me want to go away and get more people into the game again. And it's one of those people where I just think she doesn't realise how special she is to the game, and it really touched me. And then the three biggest things for me was a lady who now wants to volunteer at Greenbank. I've spoke to her today, and her husband as well. He's interested in getting back in football. And two ladies who want to do the stepping over the sideline with Kenners, who I've just mentioned, who will help with equal game and getting things set up. Literally just mums who attended the workshops and were so inspired by it. They've seen how simple it is in a way to go and volunteer. So I think those four people being included and seeing a different way in football was massive. And if we just made one person want to volunteer from that event, we've done our job. So 4 is amazing.
And then we spoke on this at the event as well. Obviously, naturally in the women and girls game at the moment, there's a lot of sort of male coaches and male committee members, all those sort of things. How can men involved within the women's game help improve the game, but also be better allies? I suppose, is that the right term to those within the game?
I've always seen men as allies. I don't try and separate anyone. I don't like a segregation. And without males at Greenbank, is the thing I could relate it to, we wouldn't have the girls' provision. I think it can be overlooked. You can set up a female provision, you can have the female volunteers come in and then sometimes be left to your own device. I think just go to a girls' session, learn how to do those sessions, attend things like the International Women's Day event. If it is like an all-female, like we've got a female committee as well now at the club, ask to be a committee member. Ask to be a girls' league committee member, because like I say, we've only got poor Ed and you probably get sick of us. So just volunteer yourself to be more involved and then help create that bit of change, if you like. Although I don't like to call it a change, because it's equal to the men's game, in my opinion. So just ask, reach out, always ask the question and be that ally, because that's what we need more of.
And I mean, the one question I'm desperate to know, really, you're obviously doing so much now. I mean, what does the future hold for you, Carole?
Something I hadn't even thought about. I feel like recently, particularly last year, I wrote down everything that I'd achieved in football, and there was something every month. Like being here today is a massive achievement. I was really privileged when you asked. So I don't really say I have a goal. I just do the work, and then the achievements come. I'd love to work full time in football. I don't know what I would want that to look like at the moment, but just doing the work will get me there. But like I say, I'm 36, and when I write things on social media about my achievements in football, it's not to impress anyone, but it's to press on to people that you can be any age and live in your dreams. That's genuinely how I feel about it. So I don't know what my end goal is. I just like to do the work.
And I guess one final bit is just around, if someone is debating about getting involved in the female game, what piece of advice would you give them? Linking into like our International Women's Day, and we mentioned about what piece of advice do people have. What piece of advice do you have?
Just do it. I feel like there's never a right time to try something new. Like there never is, and if you hold back, you'll never do it. So just jump in, link with someone at a club, learn from them, because that's all I do every single day. Like I say, I'm obsessed with CPD hours. Just jump in, do it, because the game across the board needs more volunteers. It might look on a pitch from a parent's perspective like there's the right volunteers in place, but we do always need more, so just jump in.
Do you think, one question that sort of jumped out to me when you were saying that is, do you think that there's things that need to be done more or better to better support those volunteers who are, effectively working a full-time role without the pay, or, there's things that we can do better to recognise and reward those people who are effectively making football happen in our area?
I think you've already started to do that a lot, especially with things like this. I think this is a fantastic idea because people would love to jump on here. And again, it's innovative from Links FA and social media driven, and people love to be on social media. They love to have that exposure. I do think that's something across the board people could work with, because I will say if I wasn't addicted to CPD hours, I'd probably feel on my own. There's a point though, isn't there, where a club can't hold your hand in everything, that you've got to go and learn on your own as well. So you do have to have the drive to be a volunteer, and some people do and some people don't. And it's that point of when your child stops playing like my son did, do you want to carry on and be a volunteer, or are you stepping away? And if you do, who's going to come in? So I would say just be prepared to do the work if you're going to be a volunteer, and make sure you reach out to the right people when you want that work.
And do you think there's a lot to be said for being able to have, whether it be, a support group like the media officers one, for example, or having a network of people like, having the chance to go to the International Women's Day event and speak to other people involved in the women's game? Do you think having opportunities and support groups and networks like that is just as important as being recognised and rewarded? Massively,
yeah. I think the social media group you set up has been fantastic, because to a point I think, I'm quite good at this, but then the other ideas coming into the group, I'm like, I could go and use that programme and enhance our things for next year. Like I say, it's always good to learn, and if I'm not learning anything in that group, then it's not valuable to me. So yeah, I do think groups are good. I do think face-to-face is a lot better on certain things though. I know a lot of people, especially because of the pandemic, think they can just stay online now, but you don't get that personability as such. I mean, if you're learning still, it is useful, don't get me wrong, but I think that's probably the only downfall a little bit of social media, is that it's taken that face-to-face element away. So if you do get the chance to be in a support group and be in a room doing CPD, go and do it, because you get the emotion better when people speak, I think.
Super. And I know it's probably seems like a whirlwind since you obviously made those first steps into football, but could you just pick out maybe a top three, or like the absolute best thing, or like a highlight of everything that you've seen or done so far?
The best thing was a reward. Funny enough, you were saying about rewards, was when I was picked to go to the first female grassroots conference at St George's Park last year. There was limited spaces in the county, and if I don't get there every year now, I've failed. Just seeing the people, like the women on the stage, talk about their journeys, that really put like fire in my stomach to do more in the game. Like massive. It was incredible. So that was probably my top thing. So many memories with my son on the pitch, obviously. I think that goes without saying, but for me now, seeing our Wildcats on a Saturday morning, there's between 30 and 40 of them, when all the girls are at home on a match day and all them pitches are now really starting to fill up, getting a bit equal to the boys' game, that is probably my proudest thing right now. That's because we didn't anticipate that in such, it's not even 18 months, so that makes me really proud.
Carole, it has been absolutely amazing to have you with us. I mean, I don't want to put words in Kirsty's mouth, but I can literally, I feel so inspired just by talking to you and hearing.
Oh, that means a lot to me, because that's literally my aim, is to make people want to go away and do more.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to see how the league grows, how Greenbank Girls go, how you grow. I'm looking forward to seeing all the amazing work that you're going to be doing as our Equal Game Ambassador as well, and as an inspiration, not just in the women's game, but in football as a whole. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for letting us share your story with everyone else.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carole.